What's going on, you guys? Sports on the Diesel back at you here. And today, obviously, we're going to be talking about week 11 of the NFL season as the season continues to progress. Let's get down to it, starting with the Thursday night football game against the Cardinals up against the Seahawks. And a grueling grudge match here, and the Seahawks prevail and get the victory 28-21. As much as I want to go into the quarterback comparison, I mean, obviously, Murray threw the ball 42 times, which is like, okay, I'm not used to him throwing the football that many times, but I mean, the Seahawks defense did everything right in terms of keeping him under wraps so he didn't go off like he normally does. I don't even think he rushed for 20 yards in the game. And the Seahawks prevail in this game, and they are tied atop of technically they're not tied atop of the leaderboard because the Rams own the tiebreaker against the Seahawks with their 23-16 victory a little over a week ago. So them and the Seahawks and the Rams are tied at the top of the NFC West division at 7-3, even though the Rams are leading the division because of that tiebreaker. Moving on to the Titans versus the Ravens, and once again the Titans find a way to beat this Ravens squad, and the Titans just seem to have Lamar Jackson and the Ravens number. This was a fantastic game throughout. Mark Andrews catching some deep balls. Some great deep ball accuracy thrown by both quarterbacks in this ball game. Derrick Henry, 28 carries, 133 yards, and a touchdown. And of course, that touchdown happened to be the winning touchdown in overtime as they win 30-24. And that was his 50th touchdown in his NFL career. And of course, it was a big and a huge one because now that kicks Baltimore out of a playoff spot, technically speaking. With that being said, that's how big that game was yesterday. And who knows, we could see these two teams play again in the playoffs, but you know what Baltimore is going to do. You know how great Lamar Jackson is, his accuracy throwing down the field, his running ability, his escape ability. He's pretty much an escape artist. He's like the Houdini of football. I don't know how he gets out of some of these sacks, but he does. And but the power of Derrick Henry continues to be the deciding factor in these football games between these two teams. It happened in the playoffs last year in the divisional round, and it's happened again here in the regular season of the 2020 season. And with that being said, I mean, the power of Derrick Henry, like, it just wears down on you as he gets these second half surges where you think you're going to slow him down, and it's just too much. And you saw it on the final play of the game there where Derrick Henry must have broke like 2 or 3 tackles, jump cut towards the middle of the field, and the game, the rest is history. And as we're going to take a look at the AFC playoff picture in just a second here. We got to talk about the Eagles and the Browns here as the Browns beat the Eagles 22-17 in a weird scoring game. There was obviously a safety in this ball game thanks to a great punt by the Browns punter. And then the defense cleaned it up on like the first or second play of the drive there for the Eagles. They sacked him in the end zone, safety. Nick Chubb again goes off for 100 yards. 20 carries, 114 yards. I think Baker Mayfield only threw the football 22 times in this football game. And the Philadelphia Eagles defense makes you do things that you're uncomfortable with. And obviously they got to Baker Mayfield a couple of times. But with that being said, of course, Philadelphia's defense, and that's how Philadelphia wins football games, is they're like a grit and grind defense. They force you to run the football, even though Nick Chubb had no issues against this defense. But they force you to make uncomfortable decisions with the pressure from their front four with Fletcher Cox, Graham, and company. But Cleveland prevails in this football game. And now we can look at the AFC playoff picture here because, you got Pittsburgh and Kansas City. I don't think anyone's going to come close to touching them. Pittsburgh's 10-0. Kansas City's 9-0 at the 2 seed. 3, 4, 5, and 6 are all 7-3. Buffalo, Indianapolis, Tennessee, and Cleveland. And, then if you go 7, 8, 9, those 3 teams are tied. Las Vegas, Baltimore, Miami, all at 6 and 4. So in the next upcoming weeks, that's obviously going to shift. And we all know these teams are going to shift around depending on the matchups and who they play up against next. I would love to get into detail about that, but let's continue with this week's football games. Patriots, Texans, this was a disappointing loss for the New England Patriots. This was a must-key win for the Patriots because this puts them at 500, and this puts them a game behind those 7, 8, 9 teams that are in the hunt. It puts them in the hunt to be in the playoffs, but they lose 27-20 to the Texans. And honestly, both quarterbacks played unbelievable in this game. I mean, I don't know what else Cam Newton has to do to win a football game. 26 of 40, 365 yards. He threw that beautiful touchdown pass to Bird for 42 yards. And then Deshaun Watson had a great game of his own, 28 of 37, 344 yards, 2 touchdowns. And then he also ran for a touchdown on the ground. So, I mean, a fantastic showing here by the Texans. I mean, Cam Newton looks great, but it obviously tells you that this is a whole personnel thing. And obviously, I'm like a broken record. We know the personnel in New England is not the greatest. There's no Edelman. Burkhead just gets hurt. And it's like, they have decent options at the offensive end. Damian Harris has been a fantastic option for them in the running game. He's been a spark for this offense. I feel bad for Sony Michel because Sony Michel is probably not going to have a starting job when he gets back. So, and then you also got, N'Keal Harry's been a dud all season long. Bird had a great game in this one. He caught for over 100 yards in this game. Obviously, the touchdown catch. It's been dismal for this football team in terms of the options on offense. But, Jacoby Myers has been a bright. Him and Harris have been a bright spot for this offense as being options because Jacoby Myers seems to be the only wide receiver that's getting open down the field. Like we saw it in the New York Jets game where he 12 catches, 169 yards. It's just been, he seems to be the only option getting open. I know Burkhead and James White get open, but they get open on checkdowns more than anything when the defense is playing zone. So it's very easy for that. Next game, Atlanta, New Orleans, 24-9 is the score here as the Saints win again. And Taysom Hill, I didn't want to talk about this game because I'm like, it's Atlanta. We know New Orleans was going to win that game. Taysom Hill looked unbelievable in this game. 18 of 23, 233 yards. He didn't throw a touchdown, but he at least rushed for 2 touchdowns in this football game. Michael Thomas, 9 catches, 104 yards. Michael Thomas now is the all-time leader, or the record holder, I should say, for most catches in his first 5 NFL seasons. And I think it's like 400 and some. It's like 481. It's some number like that. But Taysom Hill looked fantastic in the pocket, throwing with great accuracy. And then when he started getting rushed, he's extending the play, getting it to his playmakers. Michael Thomas, obviously. I think Michael Thomas was on the end of like 3 or 4 of those plays. So Taysom Hill is a guy that you could look forward to in terms of being exciting to watch on the field. And I'm surprised this guy's been under reps under Sean Payton. I don't know how Sean Payton and them got this guy, but to be honest, I mean, what a gem this guy is. And we could see him in the near future doing what he's doing right now. Packers, Colts. Colts prevail in this football game 34-31. A disappointing loss for the Packers. Both quarterbacks threw great in this game. 311 yards for Rodgers, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Rivers, 288 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, and also another and an interception as well. The only issue in this game, the difference in this ball game, was the 3 fumbles by the Packers offense, and the fumble late in the game by Valdez-Scantling, it ends up being the game coster. And that's how the Packers lose this football game. Dolphins, Broncos. Broncos win a tight, heavy defensive game, 20-13. Melvin Gordon, Philip Lindsay combined for 31 carries, 166 yards, 2 touchdowns. Even though Miami got a lot of defensive stops, got some turnovers in this football game, they still don't lose the game. Tua gets benched. They throw Ryan Fitzpatrick in. He ends up throwing an interception. And a weird way to end the football game. You're up by 7. Denver's up by 7. It's 4th and 14. And, I know there's only 4 seconds left. So you're trying to waste the clock out. And Drew Lock really should have just held the ball and just threw it way out of bounds downfield so the clock expires and that's the game. Instead, it turns into a 50, 60-yard pass play to, I don't even remember who was on the end of that play, but with that being said, that's how the game ends, and that's why Miami's in the 9 spot right now in the AFC playoff picture. Cowboys, Vikings, 31-28 Cowboys. Another disappointing loss here because the Vikings should have clearly won this game, but Andy Dalton looked great coming off of the concussion. 22-32, 203 yards, 3 touchdowns, and just 1 interception. Zeke finally gets a 100-yard rushing game. His first of the season, 21 carries, 103 yards. A great game to watch. Thielen goes off. He had 8 catches, 123 yards, 2 touchdowns in this football game as well. Kirk Cousins threw the football well. But when you look at the NFC East division, I know it's a joke, and I keep saying that every week, and I'm sorry to be a broken record, but we got 3 teams tied at 3-7 right below Philadelphia at 3-6-1 here. And obviously the Giants had a bye week here in week 11, so they didn't get to play this week. But Dallas and Washington both prevail in their games, and they end up winning. So I think Washington ended up winning 20-9. So, Philadelphia, I think, is still the favorite to win this division. But now you're starting the Giants, the Dallas Cowboys. This is a toss-up in this division. I don't know who's going to win this division, but it's definitely a toss-up on who is going to win this division now, because Carson Wentz, he looked terrible in the Philadelphia Cleveland Brown game, and threw 2 interceptions, and both of those interceptions were like, dude, where are you throwing the football? One ball was thrown to Alshon Jeffrey, who completely mistimed the jump and is not back to 100%. So it's like, Carson Wentz leads the NFL in interceptions too. I think he's thrown like 16 interceptions, which leads the NFL. So he is not having a good football. He's not having a good season being accurate throwing the football. Moving on, Chiefs, Raiders. But this was a fantastic game to watch. And the Raiders seem to have the Chiefs' number. And honestly, I thought the Chiefs got away with this football game. They shouldn't have won this football game. Derek Carr and John Gruden and them dropped the ball here in the fourth quarter. Patrick Mahomes, what else can you say about it? They forced Raiders forced an early interception, but that doesn't stop Mahomes. 345 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. Derek Carr has been fantastic all season long. 23 of 31, 275, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. I was rooting for the Raiders all the way in this game because that puts them 1 game back of the Kansas City Chiefs in the division, and it puts them in a wild card round matchup against whatever seed that is. But it would put them at the 3 or the 4 seed in the AFC playoffs. Or actually, technically, it would be the 5th or 6th seed because the top 4 seeds go to the divisional winners, but it definitely would have tightened things up in the AFC West division, but unfortunately the Chiefs prevail, and I'm still shaking my head on that one. All right, Monday night's game, Rams, Bucks. This Rams team is coming into their own, and if you look at these 2 teams, out of either of these 2 teams, the Rams look like they're a Super Bowl ready team right now. This defense has been on fire the last few weeks. Like I said, they got 6-7 sacks on Russell Wilson and not one of those sacks was counted to Aaron Donald. So that's saying something about this defense and how good they are at getting to the quarterback. Sean McVay is a is a genius at the mic there at the head coaching spot for the Rams here. But Jared Goff threw the ball 51 times in this football game, and that was pretty much the only way they were going to beat this Bucs team, was by out throwing them and outgunning them. And 39 of 51, 376 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions for Goff. Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, the second duo in Monday Night Football history to have 10 or more catches and 100 more yards receiving. So kudos to them. Kupp, 11 catches, 145 yards. Woods, 12 catches, 130 yards, and a touchdown. Brady threw the ball 48 times, 26 of 48. 216 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He was not accurate throwing this football. But at the same time, though, Bruce Arians is, Tom Brady is your no risk it, your no biscuit kind of guy, where he throws those short to intermediate passes like we've seen in New England for many, many, many years. And Bruce Arians is telling him to throw the football deep, and you're seeing it in the numbers here. Barely throwing over 50% completion percentage. 2 interceptions again for Tom Brady. But I'm not hitting the panic button yet on this Tampa Bay team. I think New Orleans is going to win this division. Looking at the matchups going forward, New Orleans looks like they're going to win this division. And I mean, they already have the tiebreaker. They season sweep Tampa Bay already this year. So Tampa Bay is looking at a wild card spot at best, but don't sleep on this team because they got a lot of firepower. They got Antonio Brown, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Gronkowski. We can't forget about Gronkowski. But there's been some injuries in the tight end spot. OJ Howard has been in and out this season. He hasn't really played much this year. But with that being said, thank you guys so much for your time. If you haven't already, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Stay tuned for obviously more NFL news coming up. We got 3 Thanksgiving games coming up this week on Thursday, starting at noon, and I think the last game's at like 7:30 or 8 o'clock or something like that. But we got 3 games coming on Thursday. Obviously, there's more NBA news. There's a lot of NBA free agency news where players are moving to different teams. New, same face, new place. So I can't wait to go over that episode with you guys. But thank you guys again so much for your time. I will see you guys all in the next one. Deuces.